Cleopatra, not a story of beauty, but a story of power. She didn't seduce men. She ruled empires, and history never told you that. Because Cleopatra was not just a queen. She was a strategist who controlled minds. She was a player who saved an empire. And perhaps she was the most dangerous woman in history. Everyone knows her for her beauty, but that is the greatest misconception. Cleopatra's power was not in her face, but in her mind. She spoke more than 7 languages. She mastered diplomacy, and her enemies she could defeat without war. She didn't control people, she controlled situations. When Cleopatra was born, the world was not ready for her. Egypt was weakened. Rome was rising. And within the palace, there was betrayal. When her father died, the throne was not hers alone. She had to share it with her own brother. But this was not a partnership. This was the beginning of a war. Cleopatra was exiled. She lost everything: her throne, her power, her army. But she didn't lose one thing: her intelligence. And then, she made one of the boldest moves in history. She hid inside a carpet and stood before the most powerful man in Rome. When she emerged from the carpet, standing before her was Julius Caesar. And in that moment, the course of history changed. This was not a love story. This was a game of minds. Cleopatra didn't just save herself, she saved an empire. When Caesar was assassinated, everything shook once again. But Cleopatra didn't stop. She made another move: Marcus Antonius. A warrior, a leader, a threat, and an opportunity. Cleopatra didn't just grow close to him, she drew him to her side. Rome was no longer one. There were 2 powers. On one side, Octavian. On the other side, Cleopatra and Antony. This was not just a war. This was the fate of the world. The Battle of Axiom began. The seas burned, ships sank, armies collapsed. And then came a moment. Cleopatra withdrew. Why? Because she was afraid, or because she had planned everything in advance? This question still remains unanswered. When it was all over, Cleopatra was alone. And she made one final decision. According to legend, a serpent. A single bite. And a silent death. But the truth is, even her death may have been a strategy. Because even today, her tomb has never been found. And perhaps, it never will be. Cleopatra was not a character written by history. She was one of those who wrote history. And perhaps, the world we know today is the result of her decisions. To discover the real stories, subscribe to Axiom Earth. Because some stories are not told, they are uncovered. Axiom Earth.